The champagne flute shattered against the marble floor like my marriage, sudden, violent, and impossible to piece back together. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start with the moment I realized my wife thought I was nothing more than a placeholder in her carefully orchestrated life. The Meridian Tower's 42nd floor gleamed under crystal chandeliers, hosting Dataflow Corporation's annual Christmas party. Snow pressed against floor-to-ceiling windows, while 200 employees in designer suits pretended to enjoy each other's company. I nursed my second beer, watching my wife Lara work the room like she owned it. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. Colton, right? A woman in a red dress approached. Amanda Reeves, Lara's best friend from accounting. You look thrilled to be here. About as thrilled as a root canal, I muttered, adjusting my off-the-rack blazer. But Lara insisted. Amanda's smile flickered. She's certainly making an impression tonight. I followed her gaze across the room. Lara stood near the bar, her black cocktail dress hugging curves that still made my pulse quicken after 8 years of marriage. Her auburn hair caught the light as she threw her head back, laughing at something Grant Hollister was whispering in her ear. Grant Hollister, regional director, 6'2", silver-haired, drove a BMW that cost more than I made in 2 years. The kind of man who wore confidence like cologne, too much of it. They seem close, Amanda observed, her voice carefully neutral. They work together. But even as I said it, something cold settled in my stomach. Grant's hand rested on Lara's lower back, fingers splayed possessively. She leaned into him, her body language screaming intimacy. I drained my beer and started walking toward them. The crowd parted around me. Nobody notices the IT guy until their computer breaks. I caught fragments of their conversation as I approached. Deserves so much better than what she has. Grant's voice carried that executive smoothness that made subordinates scramble to please him. I know, but it's complicated. Lara's response made me freeze. Nothing's complicated when you're with the right person. Grant's hand slid lower on her back. Some men just don't appreciate what they have. I stopped 3 feet away. Neither of them noticed me. He's a good man, Lara said, but her tone suggested she was trying to convince herself. He's just ordinary, you know? Sometimes I wonder what my life would be like if I'd made different choices. Grant leaned closer, his lips nearly brushing her ear. It's never too late to make new ones. You're brilliant, beautiful, ambitious. You shouldn't settle for ordinary. That's when they saw me. Lara's face went white. Grant straightened, his expression shifting from intimate to professional in a microsecond. Colton, Lara's voice pitched too high. I was just telling Grant about your cybersecurity work. Were you? I looked between them, noting the guilty flush on her cheeks, the way Grant's jaw tightened. What specifically were you telling him? Just, how dedicated you are. She reached for my arm, but I stepped back. Grant cleared his throat. Your wife speaks very highly of you, Colton, though I have to say she seems underutilized in her current position. Someone with her talents should be moving up faster. The subtext hit me like a physical blow. She's too good for her current situation, which included me. Funny thing about moving up, I said, my voice steady despite the rage building in my chest. Sometimes people step on others to get there. Sometimes they forget who helped them along the way. Lara's eyes widened. Colton, what are you? I'm just making conversation with your boss. I smiled at Grant, the expression feeling foreign on my face. Tell me, Grant, what's your philosophy on loyalty? His smile turned predatory. Loyalty is earned, not given, and it should be reciprocal. Absolutely. I pulled my wedding ring off my finger. The simple gold band caught the light as I held it up. 8 years of reciprocal loyalty. That's what this represents. Colton, please. Lara reached for me again. I dropped the ring into her champagne glass. It sank with a soft plink, bubbles rising around it like tiny accusations. Enjoy your better choices, I said quietly. Both of you. The conversation around us faded. Heads turned. Amanda appeared at my elbow, her eyes wide with fascination rather than concern. I walked away, leaving my wife and her boss frozen in their tableau of guilt and shock. Behind me, I heard Lara call my name, but I didn't turn around. I had 8 years of marriage to bury, and the funeral was just beginning. The elevator descended in silence, carrying me away from the life I thought I knew. My phone buzzed, a text from Lara. We need to talk. I deleted it without responding. Some conversations were already over. The apartment felt different when I returned that night. Smaller, shabbier, like seeing it through Grant Hollister's eyes. Our wedding photos lined the mantel, all smiles and promises that now seemed naive. I started taking them down one by one, stacking them face down on the coffee table. Lara's key turned in the lock at 11:47 p.m. I'd been counting the minutes, wondering if she'd come home at all. Colton? Her voice echoed in the hallway. We need to talk about what happened. I emerged from the kitchen with a cup of coffee, noting her smeared lipstick and the guilt written across her face like a confession. Do we? I thought the champagne ring made my position pretty clear. She kicked off her heels, suddenly looking smaller without them. You embarrassed me in front of everyone. Grant is my boss. Grant is your lover. The words came out flat, matter of fact. How long? Her face crumpled. It's not what you think. How long, Lara? She sank onto the couch, her dress riding up. Once, that would have distracted me. Now, I just felt empty. 3 months, maybe 4. Since your promotion interview. Yes. The word came out as a whisper. I laughed, surprising us both. Brilliant strategy, sleep with the boss, get the promotion, then what? Divorce the ordinary husband and move in with Mr. Right? It wasn't planned. She stood up, anger replacing guilt. It just happened. We were working late, and he was so understanding about my ambitions. Understanding about your ambitions to sleep with him? She slapped me. The sound cracked through the apartment like a gunshot. My cheek stung, but I smiled. There's the real Lara. How long were you going to keep pretending? I wasn't pretending anything. I love you, but I'm ordinary. But I'm not good enough. But you deserve better. I set down my coffee and walked to our bedroom. I heard the whole conversation, Lara. Every word. She followed me, tears streaming down her face. I was confused. He was saying things, making me question. Making you question what? Whether you could do better than a cybersecurity analyst who makes $60,000 a year? I pulled a suitcase from the closet and started packing. Well, congratulations. You're about to find out. Where are you going? Hotel, lawyer, new life. I folded shirts with mechanical precision. You can keep the apartment. I'll be in touch about dividing assets. Colton, please, we can work through this. Marriage counseling, whatever you want. I stopped packing and looked at her. Really looked. The woman I'd married at 28, full of dreams and plans we'd build together. The woman who'd supported me through my master's degree, who'd celebrated when I landed my first real job, who'd once said she'd rather be poor with me than rich with anyone else. Tell me you love me, I said quietly. I do love you. Tell me you choose me over him. She opened her mouth, then closed it. The silence stretched between us like a chasm. That's what I thought. I zipped the suitcase closed. I'll file papers Monday morning. You can't just throw away 8 years. I'm not throwing them away. You already did that when you decided I wasn't enough. I headed for the door, then paused. By the way, you might want to check your credit cards. I canceled them an hour ago. Joint accounts are frozen pending the divorce proceedings. Her face went white. You can't do that. I can, and I did. Ordinary guys learn to protect themselves eventually. I shouldered my bag. Enjoy explaining that to Grant. I left her standing in our bedroom, surrounded by the wreckage of our marriage. The ordinary husband was done being ordinary. The Marriott downtown had vacancy. I paid cash for a week, then sat on the generic bed and made a list. Bank accounts, credit cards, insurance policies, the mortgage. 8 years of financial entanglement that would take months to unravel. But I had time now, all the time in the world. My phone buzzed constantly. Texts from Lara, ranging from apologetic to angry to desperate. I read them all, then blocked her number. Some conversations were over, but the real work was just beginning. At 2 a.m., I opened my laptop and started researching divorce attorneys. By dawn, I had appointments scheduled with 3 of them. The ordinary husband was about to become very interesting. Amanda Reeves called me Tuesday morning while I was reviewing divorce paperwork in a downtown coffee shop. Her voice carried that breathless quality of someone with premium gossip to share. Colton? Oh my God, you need to know what's happening at the office. I stirred my coffee, watching steam rise from the cup. I'm no longer interested in data flow drama, Amanda. Trust me, you'll want to hear this. Grant's been called into HR 3 times since Monday. Someone sent them security footage of him and Lara from the Christmas party, and other incidents. That got my attention. Other incidents? Conference room meetings that went long, elevator conversations, the parking garage last Thursday. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Colton? They have everything. Someone's been watching them for weeks. Interesting. I hadn't sent any footage to HR. I'd been too busy with lawyers and bank accounts. Any idea who? Nobody knows, but here's the really juicy part. Lara's promotion is being reviewed. They're saying it might have been influenced by personal factors. I almost smiled. Corporate America had many flaws, but they took harassment lawsuits seriously, especially when they involved management, playing favorites with subordinates. There's more, Amanda continued. Grant's wife called the office yesterday. She was asking about Lara specifically. Apparently someone sent her photos. Now that was genuinely surprising. What kind of photos? The kind that end marriages. Look, can we meet? There are things you should know. Things about Lara that go way back. We met at Murphy's Pub, a dimly lit place where Dataflow employees went to complain about their jobs. Amanda slid into the booth across from me, clutching a manila folder like it contained state secrets. I should have told you years ago, she began, but I thought it was just harmless flirting. Lara has a history of getting close to men who can help her career. She opened the folder, revealing printed emails, photos, and what looked like bank statements. Remember when she got her first promotion 2 years ago? She was sleeping with the department head then, too. And before that, she was dating the VP's son while you two were engaged. The coffee in my stomach turned to acid. While we were engaged? 3 months before your wedding. I have the hotel receipts. Amanda's expression was sympathetic but hungry, like someone who enjoyed delivering bad news. She's been playing this game for years, Colton. You were just stable. The safe choice she could come home to. I flipped through the evidence. Each page, another nail in the coffin of my marriage. Credit card statements showing expensive dinners I hadn't attended. Photos of Lara with various men at company events. Her body language telling the real story. Email chains discussing career advancement strategies that had nothing to do with job performance. Why are you showing me this now? I asked. Amanda's mask slipped slightly, revealing something harder underneath. Because I'm tired of watching her get everything she doesn't deserve. Do you know how many qualified women get passed over while Lara sleeps her way up the ladder? It's disgusting. And you want revenge? I want justice. She leaned forward, her voice intense. Grant promised me the senior analyst position last year. Then Lara started working late with him, and suddenly she got promoted instead. I've been documenting everything since then, waiting for the right moment. I closed the folder, my mind racing. Amanda wasn't just Lara's friend, she was her rival, carefully collecting ammunition for years. What do you want from me? Partnership. You know data flows computer systems better than anyone. I know where the bodies are buried. Together we can make sure they both get what they deserve. It was tempting. The evidence in that folder could destroy Lara's career and Grant's marriage. But something about Amanda's eagerness bothered me. She was too prepared, too organized, too invested in other people's destruction. I'll think about it, I said, standing to leave. Don't think too long. Grant's already trying to cover his tracks. And Lara's been telling people you're having a breakdown, that you've become paranoid and controlling. That stopped me cold. She's what? Damage control. She's painting herself as the victim of an unstable marriage, getting sympathy from management, setting up her defense for when this all comes out. Amanda smiled coldly. But we can control the narrative if we move fast. I took the folder. I'll be in touch. Walking back to my hotel, I felt the weight of Amanda's evidence in my hands. 8 years of marriage, and I'd been blind to all of it. The late nights, the new clothes, the sudden interest in networking events. Signs I'd dismissed as ambition were actually calculated deception. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. This is Grant. We need to talk. Meet me at the Meridian parking garage, level B2, tonight at 8. Come alone. I stared at the message, then typed back, see you there. The ordinary husband was about to have an extraordinary conversation. The Meridian Tower's parking garage at night felt like the setting for a crime drama, all concrete shadows and flickering fluorescent lights. I arrived early, positioning myself behind a concrete pillar where I could watch Grant's BMW pull into the nearly empty space. He emerged from his car looking less polished than usual. His tie was loose, his silver hair disheveled, and his confident swagger had been replaced by nervous energy. He glanced around the garage before walking to the center of the space. Merrick, I know you're here. We need to talk. I stepped out from behind the pillar, keeping my distance. Talk about what, Grant? How you've been sleeping with my wife, or how you're trying to cover it up? He flinched at my directness. It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. The question is, what do you want from me? Grant ran a hand through his hair, a gesture that made him look older, more desperate. Look, I know how this appears, but Lara and there are feelings involved. Real feelings. I laughed, the sound echoing off concrete walls. Feelings. That's what you're calling it? I love her. The words came out like a confession. And she loves me. This isn't some casual affair. We're planning a future together. A future that requires destroying her marriage and your own? My marriage has been over for years. And yours? He gestured helplessly. Come on, Colton. You had to know this was coming. A woman like Lara, with her ambitions, her intelligence, did you really think she'd be satisfied with ordinary forever? There was that word again. Ordinary. Like it was a disease. So, what's the plan? I asked. You both divorce your spouses and ride off into the sunset? Very romantic. Very original. We can make this easy for everyone. Clean divorces, no drama, no public embarrassment. I can even help with your transition. Recommendations for other companies, maybe a reference for a better position. I stared at him. You're trying to buy me off. I'm trying to be reasonable. Look, you seem like a decent guy. You deserve someone who appreciates what you have to offer. Lara and we're in the same league professionally. We understand each other's ambitions. And I'm not in that league. I'm not saying that. You're saying exactly that. I stepped closer, watching him tense. You're saying I'm not good enough for my own wife, that she deserves better than the man she married. Sometimes people grow apart. Sometimes people are lying, manipulative parasites who destroy families for their own gratification. My voice stayed level, but something in my tone made him step backward. Tell me, Grant, does your wife know about your feelings? Your plans for the future? His face went pale. Leave Margaret out of this. Leave Margaret out of her husband's affair. That seems unfair. I pulled out my phone. Should I call her? Let her know about your grand romantic gesture? You don't understand. I understand perfectly. You want to have your cake and eat it too. Keep your marriage stable while you mess around, then abandon it when something better comes along. I started typing on my phone. Margaret Hollister, right? I bet she'd love to hear about your feelings. Stop. His voice cracked. Please. Margaret doesn't deserve this. Neither did I, but that didn't stop you. Grant's composure finally shattered. What do you want? Money? A better job? Name your price. I looked at this powerful man, this regional director who commanded respect and fear from hundreds of employees, reduced to begging in a parking garage. I want you to understand what ordinary means, Grant. It means being invisible. It means people underestimate you. I held up my phone, showing him the screen. It means they don't notice when you're recording conversations. His face went white. You recorded every word. Your confession of love, your admission of the affair, your offer to buy me off. Very interesting content. I pocketed the phone. I'm sure Margaret will find it fascinating. You bastard! I'm the bastard? That's rich. I started walking toward my car, then paused. By the way, you might want to check your vehicle. Someone keyed it pretty badly while we were talking. Grant spun around, then cursed. Deep scratches ran along the BMW's driver's side, spelling out cheater in jagged letters. When did you? While you were confessing your feelings. Amazing what people don't notice when they're focused on themselves. I got in my car and rolled down the window. Give my regards to Margaret. And Grant, stay away from my wife until the divorce is final. She's still married to an ordinary man, and ordinary men can be very unpredictable when they're pushed too far. I drove away, leaving him standing next to his vandalized car. In my rearview mirror, I watched him pull out his phone, probably calling his insurance company. Or maybe his lawyer. The ordinary husband was learning to be extraordinary in all the wrong ways. Friday morning brought news that spread through data flow like wildfire. Grant Hollister had been placed on administrative leave pending a full investigation into workplace conduct violations. Lara had been transferred to a different department, her promotion officially revoked. I learned this from Amanda, who called me with barely contained glee. It's beautiful, she said. HR got an anonymous package yesterday. Photos, emails, recorded conversations. Someone built a complete case against both of them. I was sitting in my lawyer's office, reviewing divorce paperwork. Anonymous package? Professional quality stuff. Whoever put this together knew exactly what they were doing. Her voice carried a note of admiration. Grant's wife filed for divorce this morning, took half his assets and the house. Word is, she's going after his pension too. Margaret Hollister worked fast. I had to respect that. What about Lara? Panicking. She's been calling in sick, but everyone knows she's job hunting. Her reputation in this industry is finished. Amanda paused. She's been trying to reach you. I'm sure she has. Colton, there's something else. Something I need to tell you. The tone of her voice made me sit up straighter. What? Can we meet? Not over the phone. An hour later, we sat in the same booth at Murphy's Pub. Amanda looked different, nervous, fidgety, like someone with a guilty conscience. I wasn't completely honest with you before, she began, about my involvement in all this. I waited, letting the silence stretch. I've been planning this for 2 years, ever since Lara got the promotion that should have been mine. She pulled out another folder, thicker than the first. I've been documenting everything, not just her affairs, but her work performance, her expense reports, her client relationships. The folder contained spreadsheets, performance reviews, and what looked like financial records. Amanda, what exactly are you telling me? I'm telling you that I orchestrated everything. The security footage to HR, the photos to Grant's wife, even some of the evidence you used against Grant. Her eyes were bright with a fervor that made me uncomfortable. I used your situation to trigger the investigation I'd been building toward for years. I stared at her, pieces clicking into place. You've been manipulating me. I've been helping you get revenge. You've been using me to destroy Lara's career. I closed the folder without looking at the contents. This was never about justice or helping me. This was about you getting her job. Amanda's mask finally dropped completely. So, what if it was? She deserved everything that happened to her. Years of sleeping her way up the ladder, while qualified people like me got passed over. Someone had to stop her. Someone like you. Someone like me. She leaned forward, her voice intense. And it worked perfectly. Grant's gone, Lara's finished, and the senior analyst position just opened up. With my documentation of this whole mess, I'm the obvious choice for promotion. I felt a familiar cold anger settling in my chest. You played me. I gave you the tools to get revenge on your cheating wife. We both got what we wanted. Did we? I stood up, leaving the folder on the table. Because it sounds like you got everything you wanted, while I just got used by another manipulative woman. Her face flushed. That's exactly what it is. You're no different from Lara, Amanda. You just chose a different strategy to get what you wanted. I walked away, leaving her sitting in the booth with her evidence and her schemes. Outside, the winter air bit at my face, but it felt cleaner than the atmosphere in that pub. My phone buzzed. A text from Lara. Please call me. I know about Amanda. We need to talk. For the first time in weeks, I was curious enough to respond. What about Amanda? She's not who you think she is. Meet me at the apartment. 1 hour. I have proof. Against my better judgment, I drove home. Lara was waiting in our living room, surrounded by boxes and the detritus of our dismantled life. She looked smaller than I remembered, worn down by weeks of public humiliation and professional destruction. But her eyes still held that sharp intelligence that had attracted me 8 years ago. Thank you for coming, she said quietly. I stayed near the door, unwilling to get comfortable. You said you had proof about Amanda. She gestured to the coffee table, where documents were spread out like evidence at a crime scene. I've been doing some digging since everything fell apart. Amanda isn't just my colleague. She's been sabotaging me for years. I moved closer, scanning the papers. Performance reviews with altered dates, email chains that had been edited, client complaints that had been fabricated. What am I looking at? Amanda's real plan. She didn't just document my affairs, Colton. She created evidence where none existed, manipulated situations to make me look incompetent, even falsified client feedback. Lara's voice was steady, but I could see the exhaustion in her face. She's been building a case against me since the day I got promoted over her. So, you're saying she made up the affairs too? Lara's face crumpled. No. The affairs were real. Grant, and before him, David Morrison, and... She took a shaky breath. I made those choices. I betrayed our marriage, and I deserve the consequences. I sat down across from her, studying the evidence. Then what's your point? My point is that Amanda used your pain to destroy both of us. She fed you information, manipulated you into confronting Grant, probably even suggested some of your revenge tactics. Lara looked directly at me. She played you the same way she's been playing everyone else. The pieces fell into place with sickening clarity. Amanda's convenient timing, her perfectly organized evidence, her eagerness to help with revenge. She'd orchestrated everything from the beginning. She's getting promoted next week, Lara continued. Senior analyst, corner office, everything she wanted. And she used our marriage as the weapon to get it. I felt that familiar cold anger, but this time it was directed at myself. I'd been so focused on revenge that I'd let another manipulator use me as a tool. What do you want from me, Lara? I want to stop her. Not to save my career, that's over. but to make sure she doesn't do this to anyone else. She leaned forward. You understand data flow's systems better than anyone. If there's digital evidence of her manipulations, you could find it. And why would I help you? Because she played us both. Because she turned your justified anger into her weapon. Because... She paused, tears starting to fall. Because I love you, and I'm sorry, and I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I can't stand the thought of her winning. I looked at my wife, soon-to-be ex-wife, sitting in the ruins of our life together. She was right about one thing. Amanda had played us both. The question was whether I cared enough to do anything about it. I'll need access to the office systems, I said finally. I still have my keycard. Security doesn't know it's been deactivated yet. 2 hours later, we sat in Lara's cubicle while I navigated Dataflow's network. The building was nearly empty, just a few security guards and the cleaning crew. My fingers moved across the keyboard, following digital trails that Amanda thought she'd hidden. There, I said, pointing at the screen. Email logs showing she sent the anonymous tips to HR. And here, she accessed Grant's calendar to know when he'd be alone with you. Lara watched over my shoulder as I uncovered Amanda's digital fingerprints. Fabricated performance reviews, manipulated client feedback, even evidence that she'd been accessing other employees' files to gather blackmail material. She's been doing this to everyone, Lara whispered. Look at Sarah Chen's file, and Marcus Webb's. She's got dirt on half the department. I kept digging, finding layers of manipulation and sabotage going back years. Amanda Reeves wasn't just ambitious. She was a predator who destroyed careers for sport. Can you copy all of this? Lara asked. Already am. I ejected a flash drive and pocketed it. But we need more than digital evidence. We need her to confess. How do we do that? I smiled, feeling genuinely happy for the first time in weeks. We give her exactly what she wants, and then we take it away. Monday morning, Amanda walked into Dataflow expecting her promotion announcement. Instead, she found me sitting in her cubicle, my laptop connected to the main display screen in the department bullpen. Colton, what are you doing here? Waiting for you. I stood up, gesturing to the crowd of employees gathering around us. I thought you might want to share your success story with everyone. Her face went pale. I don't know what you're talking about. Sure you do. I clicked a button, and the display screen filled with her email logs. You've been very busy, Amanda, very creative. The crowd pressed closer, reading the evidence of her manipulations. Gasps and murmurs filled the air as people recognized their own names in her files. This is fake, Amanda said, but her voice lacked conviction. Someone's trying to frame me. Like you framed Lara? Like you framed half the people in this room? I clicked through more screens, showing her digital trail of sabotage and blackmail. You're very thorough, Amanda. Too thorough. HR Director Patricia Walsh pushed through the crowd, her face grim. Ms. Reeves, we need to talk, now. This is all lies, Amanda said desperately. Colton's having a breakdown. He's been harassing people, making up stories. The only story here is yours, I said, and it's over. Security arrived to escort Amanda from the building. As she passed me, she hissed, You think you've won? You're still nobody. You're still ordinary. I smiled. Maybe. But ordinary men clean up the messes that extraordinary people leave behind. She was fired by noon. The police were called by 2 p.m. when they found evidence of corporate espionage and fraud in her files. By evening, Amanda Reeves was facing criminal charges and a civil lawsuit from Dataflow. I met Lara at Murphy's pub that night, the same booth where Amanda had first shown me her evidence. We sat across from each other, two people who'd been through a war and somehow survived. So what happens now? She asked. Now you rebuild your life. Somewhere else. With someone else. I slid the divorce papers across the table. I've already signed them. She looked at the papers, then at me. I know I don't deserve to ask, but is there any chance? No. The word came out gently but firmly. Too much has happened, Lara. Too much trust has been broken. She nodded, tears falling onto the legal documents. I really did love you, you know. I still do. I know. But love isn't enough when it comes with betrayal. I stood to leave, then paused. For what it's worth, you helped me figure out who I really am. Turns out, ordinary men can be pretty extraordinary when they need to be. Outside the pub, snow was falling again, covering the city in clean, white silence. I walked to my car, feeling lighter than I had in months. The ordinary husband was gone. In his place stood someone new, someone who understood that being underestimated was the greatest advantage of all. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Saw the news about Amanda. Impressive work. If you're ever interested in a career change, call me. Margaret Hollister, Hollister Investigations. I smiled and pocketed the phone. Maybe ordinary wasn't so bad after all. Maybe it was exactly what I needed to be.